The relationship between Scar and Sarabi in The Lion King holds a dark secret that Disney never fully revealed. While most viewers remember them as bitter enemies, disturbing evidence suggests their connection was far more complicated and sinister than anyone realized. From the moment Mufasa's death shook Pride Rock, Scar's obsession with Sarabi became increasingly clear. But what most fans missed was the subtle hint in their confrontation scene. When Scar strikes Sarabi, he doesn't just act out of anger, he acts like a rejected mate. This detail becomes even more chilling when you understand lion pride dynamics. You see, in the wild, when a new male takes over a pride, they typically force themselves on the previous leader's mate. Disney couldn't show this directly, but they left disturbing clues throughout the film. Notice how Scar specifically singles out Sarabi among all the lionesses, how he demands her presence constantly. The evidence was there all along. Early production notes reveal an even darker subplot that was ultimately cut. Scar didn't just want Sarabi as a trophy, he needed her to legitimize his reign. As Mufasa's widow and former queen, her submission would cement his power over the pride. But Sarabi's resistance threatened everything he'd schemed for. This explains one of the most intense scenes in the movie, when Scar confronts Sarabi about the hunting parties. He's not just angry about the lack of food, he's furious that she continues to defy him publicly. The line, "You're not half the king Mufasa was," cuts deeper than most realized because it exposes both his inadequacy as a ruler and his failure to control her. What happened behind the scenes during Scar's reign would shake even the most devoted Lion King fans. After the hyenas drove Simba away, Sarabi found herself trapped in a nightmare. She wasn't just mourning her mate and son, she was now forced to live under the twisted attention of the lion who destroyed everything she loved. Multiple animators confirmed that early storyboards showed much darker interactions between Scar and Sarabi. In one deleted scene, Scar corners Sarabi at Pride Rock's peak, telling her that a king needs his queen. Disney ultimately cut these moments for being too intense, but the underlying tension remained in every scene they shared. But here's where it gets even more disturbing. Look closely at how the other lionesses react whenever Scar approaches Sarabi. They back away, averting their eyes. This wasn't just fear of their new king, it was shame at watching their former queen endure his unwanted advances. The animation team deliberately included these subtle details to hint at the darker reality of life under Scar's rule. Some theorists point to an even more shocking possibility. When Scar tells Sarabi that she's going to be his queen or she'll die, he's not just making an idle threat. Notes from early script readings reveal that Scar had already begun eliminating lionesses who openly defied him. Sarabi's choices weren't just about her survival, she was protecting her entire pride. The most compelling evidence comes from a former Disney story artist who worked on the original film. They revealed that Scar's obsession with Sarabi wasn't just about power, it was personal. Long before Mufasa became king, both brothers had competed for Sarabi's attention. She chose Mufasa, and Scar never forgot this rejection. His entire plan to take over Pride Rock wasn't just about the throne, it was about finally possessing what his brother had. This adds a whole new layer to the moment when Simba returns. Notice how Scar immediately tries to blame Mufasa's death on the hyenas. He's not just trying to save himself, he's making one last desperate attempt to win Sarabi over by absolving himself of her mate's murder. The look of disgust on her face shows she sees right through his lies. But perhaps the most chilling detail was discovered in the original screenplay. During the final battle, Scar was supposed to have one last scene with Sarabi where he admits that everything, the murder, the coup, the destruction of the Pride Lands, was all because she chose Mufasa over him. This scene was ultimately cut for being too dark, but it explains why their final confrontation feels so charged with unspoken history. Disney tries to paint The Lion King as a simple story about good versus evil, but the truth about Scar and Sarabi reveals something far more disturbing. It's a story about obsession, power, and the lengths some will go to possess what they can't have. Maybe that's why this particular subplot still haunts fans decades later, because beneath the songs and colourful animation lies a very real, very dark truth about nature itself. And if you thought that was disturbing, What happened between Scar and Sarabi in the Pride's darkest hours goes even deeper. Former Disney employees revealed that several scenes were actually animated but never made it to the final cut. Scenes that would have exposed just how twisted Scar's obsession really became. During the drought that devastated Pride Rock, Scar didn't just withhold food from the Pride, he made sure Sarabi got special treatment. But this wasn't kindness. According to leaked storyboards, he would have the hyenas bring her food, forcing her to choose between feeding her starving Pride sisters or watching them suffer. It was psychological torture, designed to break her spirit. The evidence is hidden in plain sight during their famous confrontation scene. When Sarabi tells Scar they must leave Pride Rock or die, listen carefully to his response. He's not just angry, he's desperate. The voice actor was specifically directed to deliver those lines like a possessive mate, not just a tyrannical king. It's a subtle detail most viewers missed, but here's where it gets even more twisted. Remember how Zira was supposedly Scar's most devoted follower? Early concept art shows she was actually introduced as a character who became obsessed with Scar after watching his relentless pursuit of Sarabi. She saw the depth of his obsession and wanted that intensity for herself. This explains her fanatical devotion to him in the sequel. The animators left another disturbing clue in Scar's final moments. When he's surrounded by hyenas, he briefly looks towards Sarabi's position before his demise. This wasn't random. It was meant to show that even in his last moments, his obsession never died. They cut away before we could see her reaction, but the implication was clear. Some fans have uncovered even darker theories about why Sarabi vanished from the sequel. They suggest that her experiences under Scar's reign left her so traumatized that she couldn't bear to remain at Pride Rock after his death. Every shadow, every corner reminded her of those brutal months when she had to endure his twisted attention. Disney would never confirm these darker elements of their relationship. It's too intense for a family film. But the evidence is undeniable when you piece it all together. The lingering looks, the charged confrontations, the psychological warfare. It all paints a picture of an obsession that destroyed not just Pride Rock, but left scars that would echo through generations. Think about it. This adds an entirely new dimension to every scene they share. It transforms The Lion King from a simple story about good versus evil into something far more disturbing, a tale about power, obsession, and the dark things we never see in the shadows of Pride Rock. The truth about Scar and Sarabi might be Disney's darkest secret, hidden beneath beautiful animation and award-winning songs. Maybe that's why these two characters continue to fascinate fans decades later, because somewhere beneath the surface, we all sensed there was something more sinister to their story than Disney was willing to show. But now you know the dark truth they tried to hide, and once you see it, you can never watch The Lion King the same way again.